The first thing people remember is the silence. Not the shouting, not the insults, not even the moment someone put a hand on me like I didn't belong there. It was the silence right after, when an entire room full of adults realized they'd been holding their breath and nobody wanted to be the first one to speak. I was 12 years old, sitting where I was told I didn't deserve to sit, and I remember thinking, wow, so this is what it feels like to be judged before you even open your mouth. It started like nothing special, just another early morning flight, one of those long ones where everyone's half awake, half irritated, clutching coffee like it's life support. I was traveling alone, which already makes people uncomfortable. Add to that the fact that I didn't look like what most people expect important to look like, and yeah, the assumptions were already lined up. I had on a hoodie, old sneakers, headphones around my neck, and a book I was way too deep into to notice anyone else at first. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I was just trying to get from point A to point B without being bothered. Then she showed up. You know the type. Loud confidence, expensive clothes, eyes that scan a room like it owes her something. She stopped right next to my seat and stared at me like I was a mistake someone forgot to erase. I felt it before she spoke, that heat, that entitlement, and when she finally opened her mouth, it wasn't a question, it was a command. You need to move, this seat is for paying customers. Poor. At first, I honestly thought she was joking. I looked around half smiling, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. Instead, she leaned closer, voice dropping like she was talking to a dog that didn't understand. I don't know who let you sit here, but you don't belong. That's the thing people don't talk about enough. It's not always the words. It's the certainty behind them. The way someone can decide who you are, what you're worth, just by looking at you for 3 seconds. I'd felt that before. In classrooms, in stores, at security checkpoints. But this time, something in me didn't shrink. I told her calmly, "This is my seat." She laughed. Not a funny laugh, the kind that's meant to humiliate. She started talking louder, looping in strangers like a live audience. Unbelievable. Kids these days. No respect. Probably snuck in here. A crew member came over trying to smooth things out using that soft voice adults use when they want a problem to disappear. She confirmed my ticket, confirmed my name, confirmed everything. That should have been the end of it. But people like that don't stop when they're wrong. They get louder, they double down. The woman demanded a supervisor, then demanded someone higher, then started filming me with her phone narrating her own version of reality like she was the victim. "Look at this," she said into the camera. "I don't feel safe. They're letting aggressive kids intimidate passengers." Aggressive. I was sitting still, hands folded, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I'd learned a long time ago that the moment you show emotion, it gets used against you. Still, it hurt. It always does. When the manager arrived, I could tell immediately which way the wind was blowing. He didn't look at me first. He looked at her. He listened to her tone, her confidence, her outrage. Then he turned to me and sighed like I was the inconvenience. "We're going to need you to move," he said, "just to keep things calm." That sentence right there is dangerous. To keep things calm. Calm for who, because. It never means the person being attacked. It means calm for the people with power. I told him I wasn't moving, that I paid for my seat, that I hadn't done anything wrong. He warned me not to be difficult. The woman smirked. I'll never forget that look, like she'd already won. That's when everything changed. I stood up slowly, reached into my bag, and pulled out my phone. Not to record, not to call a friend. I called my mother, not because I needed saving, but because I needed someone to hear what was happening to know I wasn't imagining it. I said, "Hey, I think you should hear this." The room shifted. Suddenly, people were uncomfortable in a different way. The manager asked who I was calling. The woman scoffed, muttering something about parents and excuses. But when my mother answered, her voice, calm-controlled, asking for details, something in the air tightened. I handed the phone to the manager when she asked to speak with him. He listened for about 10 seconds. His posture changed. 20 seconds, his face drained of color. 30 seconds, and he stepped away whispering into the phone like he'd just realized the ground beneath him wasn't solid. Because here's what no one knew, and here's where assumptions fall apart. My family owned the company that operated that route. Not because we needed to prove anything, not because we wanted special treatment, but because power doesn't look the way people think it does, and sometimes it sits quietly reading a book, minding its own business. The manager came back and apologized. To me. Out loud, in front of everyone. The woman started shouting, saying it was unfair, saying she was being targeted, saying this was discrimination against her. Funny how fast that word comes out when the tables turn. Security arrived, not for me. For her. As she was escorted away, still yelling, still insisting she was right, I felt something unexpected. Not triumph, not joy, just exhaustion. Because winning like that doesn't feel like winning. It feels like surviving something you shouldn't have had to survive in the first place. The rest of the trip was quiet. Too quiet. People avoided eye contact. A few smiled awkwardly. One person whispered that they were sorry they didn't speak up. I nodded. I didn't know what else to say. Sorry doesn't change what already happened. But here's the part that sticks with me the most. Weeks later, that woman went viral. Someone else had filmed the whole thing. Her words, her tone, her certainty. The internet did what it does. Jobs were lost. Invitations disappeared. Suddenly, the same confidence she walked in with meant nothing. And people asked me how it felt, if it was satisfying, if it was justice. Honestly, it was complicated. Because the real victory wasn't her downfall. It was the moment I didn't move when they told me to. The moment I trusted my own worth more than their opinion. The moment I realized I didn't have to be loud to be powerful. I think about that a lot. About how many people are told to move to shrink to make things easier for others. How many do? How many don't have a phone call that changes the room? And it makes me wonder how often we confuse silence with peace and politeness with fairness. So here's my question for you. When you see someone being judged, dismissed, or pushed aside, what do you do? Do you stay quiet to keep things calm, or do you risk discomfort to do what's right? And have you ever been the one people underestimated only to surprise them later? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear them. If this story made you think, share it. If you've lived something like this, speak up. Because the only way these moments stop happening is if more people decide not to look away.